welcome back to DevTube. Today's video is going to be a bit different, but before we do get started, please hit the subscribe button and like the video. We have seen that 57% of our viewers aren't subscribed, so if you do enjoy the content and find it helpful, please subscribe as it does help out the channel. Anyways, let's get on with the video. So today, instead of me rambling on about CS, I have two of my other friends who've been helping me with the channel. And today, as you can see from the title, is going to be about a discussion on how we decided to switch from being in the mechatronics and robotics major to now being CS and Comp E students, with me being a CS major and Mohammed and Tazawar being Comp E students. So before we do get started, why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves and how y'all are doing? You know.
My name is Tazwar Bilal. This is my first year in college. I'm in the computer and engineering major at NYU. Uh, I actually started my first semester in the end of January, and so far I'm doing fine. My semester just ended. After going through a whole lot of hassle because we just had a 16 credit summer semester that just happened. So my brain is kind of fried, but so far I'm feeling good. I'm not in like a whole panic mode with this whole coronavirus situation because obviously with NYC protocols being taken place, it kind of soothed down a bit, but still trying to be safe. But other than that, I'm doing good.
All right. How about you, Mo? How are you doing?
Hi, my name is Mo, and I'm a first year student at NYU, and my major is computer engineering, just like Tazwar. And just like Tazwar, I also took 16 credits over the summer. It was very stressful and very anxiety filled just because classes are back to back every single day and tests too. But I was able to get through it, and yeah, um, life is doing good right now.
All right. Well, that's really good to hear that you guys are doing well, in this whole situation that we have going on. Um, but to get back to the topic of the video, um, we're going to be talking about why we switched. And I suppose that started with our high school, right? Usually, most high schools don't really uh, tell students to think about their majors until the very end. But our school does have like a major system, right, which allows us to choose a whole, which allows us to choose a major from a whole variety of choices. And we chose the mechatronics and robotics major. Um, so why don't you guys talk about how major selection was?
Yeah, so for me personally, to reiterate, obviously with our high school, it was a little bit more different compared to others. And we had the option to choose majors prior to heading into junior year. And so through the various options that were given, I was kind of tied between the electrical and um, just any other engineering majors that because like, but I wasn't concrete to where I wanted to go to. However, with mechatronics, robotics, you had everything in one pack, which was perfect for me because I would definitely wanted to go into some type of engineering field, but I never had the idea to which one because I kind of felt like I was a jack of all trade. For for me, that was kind of like the case, and also uh, I I found out I didn't make my decision prior to you guys making your decisions. At that time, we were going to school together, like, and we had the same classes, and we were like mad chill with each other. So like when I found out that you guys were also going to mechatronics, I decided why not just take the shot at it and go for it. And I feel like I did make the right decision at the end of the day because I learned a lot throughout that whole 2 years in junior and senior year with all the engineering fields that were present in that specific major. So yeah, it was good, I would say, in my opinion.
All right, how about you, Mo?
So, my experience picking majors was quite, you know, I would say quite different because I was focused on trying to pick electrical engineering, that which was a major offered. But when I went to their outing or their displays, that or the fair that they had, kind of seemed very boring, and I used to out to like all these electrical and um, board designs, and I had no idea what the hell was going on. And so then but I went to Mechatronics, and I seen that they're making robots, and they're coding things, they're making things out of their own hands, and they're making things that they can hold and seemed useful. And I felt like it had things that I wanted, coding aspects and the hardware aspect, uh, without being too heavy in one area. So then I went for Mechatronics, and picking Mechatronics has been very useful to what I've and it's been very helpful for me because it helped me choose my major right now, which is computer engineering in NYU. And it basically showed me the career paths that I can have as a mechanical engineer or as a hardware engineer. Uh, it just showed different aspects of that of mechanical engineering and what I'd like to do essentially.
Oh, okay. Well, my process, coincides with your process. Just because, yeah, as Tazor mentioned, we did have a lot of classes. We were great friends and still are, um, back in sophomore year, right? And we, so for me, it was really because um, I wasn't sure, right, as a sophomore, what I really wanted to do. I wanted to try out the physical aspects, of engineering, but I also wanted to uh, take a dive into the software aspect as well. So yeah, at first I was actually thinking about joining the software major straight up, um, but talking to you guys and you know it helped me understand that I should have probably gone with mechatronics, and I do think it was the right decision. It opened a lot of doors, and we learned a lot. We did really learn a lot for high schoolers, right? Um, but so since we've talked about uh, choosing the mechatronics major, why don't we talk a little bit about what the major actually encompassed? Um, so we started mechatronics in junior year, right? So Tazwar, you think you can discuss about junior year, and then Mohammed, you can maybe discuss about what we did in senior year.
Yeah, so with junior year it was very interesting. Going into it, personally for me, I was a bit nervy because um I had friends that were in the mechatronics majors, and they were pretty smart, I'd say, although they were older than me.
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
going into it, I had that, you always have that high expectation, going into things that encompass such broad field, right? Fortunately though, the first time we actually went into our major class with, our major teacher at the time, which I mean, I'm not gonna mention right now, but you guys know who he is.
yeah.
And yeah, he was
Great
like,
guy.
great guy, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it actually made me feel a lot more comfortable, the way he spoke and the way he joked around, obviously. He allowed us to actually, be free in what we were doing, which mostly encompassed Arduino work. Obviously,
Yeah.
in the initial portions of doing, going through that class, it was mainly us using a software online to create circuit boards. But it always encompassed some type of microcontroller, which I always found being very fascinating to me. You know how things can work on software and you can actually represent it um, physically. Eventually, as we approached that midway point, we started to develop these microchips and microcontrollers, and we started to incorporate other more complex, systems within that microcontroller, which then we progressed into projects and all those good things. We also with our major we had classes that were kind of mandatory for us to take, and these were like higher level classes. As you guys know, we took AP Physics together, and that was also a time that had a lot of goods, a lot of bads, but it was nice to be in that class, right?
Yeah,
But other than that, I mean, junior year compared to personally, I felt like junior year was the year where you kind of with our major, thankfully we had the teacher who we had. He allowed us to kind of ease into things, and even when we went to senior year, he still allowed us to ease into things as he realized that we
yeah,
were seniors. You have that whole
yeah.
senioritis moment, and fortunately, our teachers knew that vibe to us, and yeah, we were able to kind of go through the flow with that. Yeah,
Yeah, so for junior year, we basically just did Arduino for the year around for
yeah,
year round, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
So Mohammed, why don't you discuss a little bit about what we did in senior year, which I think really, put us into the speed force of things.
Uh, so as you said, junior year we did Arduino, and we had many projects and such, and made circuit boards. So essentially, senior year was an extension of that, and but um we upgraded the microcontroller that we were using. Instead of using Arduino and Arduino based C,
IDE, yeah,
Arduino IDE, we were using the MyRio and LabVIEW, and we were making circuit boards and doing much more complex projects. And on top of that, we also had this class called Computer Integrated Manufacturing. And
right,
became being a mechanical engineer, you're not supposed to just be educated in the computer side. Like, you're supposed to be able to see a problem and be able to solve it and give a proper solution. So where we were taught how to saw, how to use different machines like 3D printers, laser cutters, CNC machines, and then we were also taught processes that mechanical engineers would use to solve problems. And then we were taught things that mechanical engineers would use in the field, and then we applied it in the class. So in integrated manufacturing, we had this end of the year project where told to use um we were told to use each machine in the classroom, and we had to make a project. So we we were told to make five total projects, and after we made the five total projects, we essentially uh completed our coursework.
right, yeah. Yeah, senior year was really fun. We got to work in the makerspace, like you said, and try out all sorts of things in the makerspace. So we did learn a lot. And yeah, we did learn a lot in those 2 years. But in addition to the mechatronics major, right, we were taking we were taking AP Computer Science A, right, in senior year. Um, and while I did like the coding aspect of it, right, I feel like the curriculum could have been a bit better, right? The department was kind of, I'd say, slacking, right? um, but yeah, I think it was a good experience. But I'd say in my AP Calculus BC class, right, in senior year, at the end of the year, we actually had like a calculator project, right? And um, in that project, right, we got to use a lot of calculus techniques to make um, basically what a TI-84 can do, right? And that was cool to see how you can integrate calculus into a program like that, right? And I'd say that's what really pushed me, um, rather than the AP Computer Science A class, which is, I think, kind of funny. Um, but yeah, when senior year came around, we had to choose, right? Oh, actually, before that, what did you guys think about the AP Computer Science A course?
Well, for me, uh, I was I was pretty excited in the beginning because it was a lot more like knowing that it was Java based, and also knowing that the one that we took prior with AP Computer Science Principle was a lot more different with like the whole Scratch and stuff. I was kind of excited going into this because it was a language that we were gonna
Yeah.
learn. The only thing was, I feel like with us, since we were so focused on the whole college process, you know, and the speed at which certain topics were introduced to us in that class, such as object-oriented programming, um, it became a little bit, I guess, hard at the end. At least,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's a great point. Yeah.
yeah. Because like uh, the premise of object-oriented programming is so broad and also very important and widely used, and to know that very fluently and is very important. And we kind of had that
Yeah.
small portion of time where we were supposed to learn it, but when senioritis kicked in, it was really hard to actually actually pay attention to that. But it was good that I actually went back to it in college, so we were able to kind of understand certain things from that Java class. I feel like um, that class also gave us a little bit of a heads up for the
Right.
first year programming class that we had to take, which was basically intro to programming involving Python, because we kind of were familiar with all the whole like for loops, if statements, and all those stuff. Kind of got that down pretty
Right.
well. And once we went into the first semester, it felt a lot better compared to I know a lot of people that took it, and they were struggling in the beginning, and thankfully it was a little easier in the beginning for us, which
Yeah.
kind
That's
of,
true.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean,
Yeah.
all in all, it had its merits, I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you phrased it much better than me. I totally agree. um, how about you, Mo? What was your takeaway from the class?
Um, so the class, see, the class was it was Java, so we're obviously going to learn object oriented programming. And the thing was that we already knew some things from the class, like for loops, all the basic stuff like for loops, while loops, all that type stuff. But that only took us so far. And the fact that the class was
Yeah.
an elective, um, it didn't help because they only give people who took electives one period for that class. But if you were computer science major, or a software major, you would be taking two periods, and one period was just not enough, just because there was so much material that you had to cover. And then on top of
Right.
that, we had college apps, and on top of that, like Tazwar said, senioritis was kicking in. But
Yeah.
but yeah, the class overall, it did have its advantages because it did show us what we would be working with if we were going down this field. Uh, but yeah, I would say it was a good it had its good side and its bad side.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Totally agree. So that actually brings us to you know, major selection for college. So as you said, we were working on, college apps in the beginning of senior year. Um, so how was that process for you guys?
Yeah, so for me, I went to computer and electrical engineering primarily because of the fact that um, I was very tied between the two. Obviously, with computer engineering, you had the element of hardware and software. Electrical engineering was always a passion of mine from when I was little, and I wanted to. I realized since NYU had those two options as a dual major, I was like, why not go for such, this field because it has two things at once. It might be beneficial in the long run, and so I decided to go into it. Um, the but as I delved into it, when I went to the orientation and stuff like that, I was told by uh, our our advisor, who is now our advisor, telling us that in order to actually complete the major itself, we would have to take. another semester's worth of credits to actually graduate, which, I mean, engineering in itself, having one type of degree, it's already a difficult process because you are you're getting more credits than most other colleges, especially when you're going to NYU. And so when I realized I had to take another semester's worth, I uh, and had to pay more, it just didn't sit right with me because NYU in itself is private. And so I decided either going to computer engineering or electrical engineering, and that was for me the hardest part of um, the major selection, especially going to engineering. The reason why I chose Comp B at the end of the day, though, was basically I went to this lecture uh, for one of my classes, and my uh, professor gave us a lecture about what major you want to go to, right? And he mentioned Comp B, right? And he was like, although you're not the master of electrical or software, you are really good at both of them together, which is a very valuable individual. And that's what comp engineering basically entails, right? You have that element of hardware and that element of software combined into two, which like that idea sounded so well to me, and I definitely am someone who likes to do a bit of everything and not just stick to one thing. And in that case, I felt like computer engineering um, had that element to it. And yeah, I decided to go into computer engineering like the next day. So yeah, that was how I went from the dual major of computer and electrical engineering to straight up computer engineering.
Oh, okay. So that's actually really interesting. Um, so you chose mechatronics because you wanted to get the entire picture, and then you kind of continued on with that
Yeah, I mean like
into computer engineering. Yeah,
yeah, I mean like you start off with mechatronics engineering as like more of the broadest you can go to, and then
yeah,
and then I kind of branched it to one type of engineering, which I mean now it became compy, and
yeah.
yeah.
So how about you, Mo? Well, how come you changed to compy?
Well, I first initially started at NYU's dual major of electrical and computer engineering. But yeah, the main reason I switched from mechatronics to computer and electrical engineering just because I seen myself doing more of the hardware. Like I want to do the hardware aspect, and you know, I want to make GPUs, CPUs, and all that type, like all these microcontrollers and processors and stuff like that. Uh, and I saw that as something interesting and something that I wanted to do. So then I switched to the electrical and computer engineering major, which would give me a dual degree. But then, as as time went on, I just looked through the job prospects for a electrical engineer and a computer engineer dual major with the bachelor with the bachelors, and I kind of didn't see that many internships or that many job openings, and job on the job openings that were there, they seem to want masters or even a person who has like 5+ years in experience, and
Yeah,
I feel like
that's insane.
I just don't have the time to you know be able to you know get out with a degree and then be able to do that stuff. Like I can't. There's no way I'm gonna be able to get 5 years experience just by getting a bachelor's, right? And then on top of that, I heard the devastating news that I gotta stay one more year possibly, or take summer credits to complete the degree because the degree takes more credits than usual since it's a dual major and you got to be taking the core classes for electrical and computer. So I just feel like okay, this is just not for me. Like I don't think I want to be doing this. And even our advisors are like, hey, if you don't like this and if you don't think this is for you, you should switch. Only the people who really do the dual major are the people who like aspired for their whole life to be a computer and electrical engineer. So I'm like, okay. So I switched to computer engineering, and the reason why I switched to computer engineering is because, well, first of all, I would, if I had the chance, I would probably think about switching to computer science, but I just didn't, just because of the credit requirement and the class requirement, and some issues that I had. But I switched to computer engineering just because I can, if I wanted to, I could specialize in software or hardware. But I'm aiming to specialize in the software, and at the same time, I want to have the option of being able to go into hardware with my degree. Like if you let's just say if I were to go into computer science, I wouldn't be able to do anything. Um, person who works with hardware, like I wouldn't be able to work with them because hardware is a whole different thing. And I felt like computer engineering was more valuable than computer science, in my own opinion, just because I see many people out there in the industry that they have no like they have no previous like coding or computer experience, and they'll just go to boot camp and become software engineers. And I felt like what's the point of wasting my 4 years in college on something that I can do in boot camp? Might as well do something that's versatile, at the same time can give me an edge over people who didn't take this major. So being a
Okay.
computer engineer, I can do software and hardware, and I could branch out into whichever one I want to.
Okay. So I see. I'm gonna hold on to that. I'm gonna hold off to that boot camp point, right? I wanted to talk about a little bit about my reasoning, right? About why choosing CS over Comp B, right? Um, so like for the process for me, right, was a bit different from you guys, but like in essence, I guess a bit similar too. But after doing the mechatronics and robotics major, right, I was like, okay, making the hardware was cool, but controlling the hardware for me was a bit more um, exciting, right? Um, Writing programs to, make websites, do this, do that, um, was interesting to me. And yeah, choosing CS, as you mentioned about going to a boot camp, right? I'd say that could be done with like for example software engineering, right? Um you can go to like boot camp that lasts for a few weeks and you can actually become really skilled in like front end back end development. But then CS is very broad, even though it's like software, it can be very broad. So I'm also interested in AI and stuff like that. So if I can, learn how to make self-driving cars and stuff like that, that would be, amazing, right? Um, but yeah, I understand you guys and your points, and I agree with the point about you guys made uh about the what was it, the job availability? Yeah. These two majors, they have like even when I search up internships, right? The top internships that come up are software engineering and then like hardware engineering, computer engineering. So yeah, I guess that sort of sums up um, our transition. Um, so let's talk about our life at NYU, right? Pretty briefly. Um, And let's talk about how our classes have been, right? So this time, why don't you start, Mo, and then we can go on to Tazwar.
So far, classes have been going well for me. Um, I started off, since we're first year, we really don't have like specific classes that you gotta take that's tailored to your major, like CS, computer engineering, electrical engineering, and even the dual major. They all take the same classes, except for one class, but that's like an introductory course to the major. Uh, but yeah, so far I've taken intro to Python, and then I've taken data structures as well, and everything has been going well. so far, except for the fact that it's in the summer, or half of my years in the summer. But so
Right.
far it's been going well, and I'm liking what I'm doing so far and what I'm doing in the future because I planned out what classes and what electives I'm going to be taking. To specialize in software. So yeah.
All right. How about you, Tazwar? What's
Yeah, I mean,
your take on NYU life?
uh, yeah, I mean, like the classes themselves are really very, I guess, in a way, kind of what I expected from from what heard from people and searched up. Because I'm not gonna lie, going into college, I was actually very nervous. I don't know why. It was just a very nervy feeling going into like this whole college environment because obviously with us now going to college, we had a lot more freedom. You know,
Yeah.
having the ability to go from this facility to that facility, study there, study over there, chill over there. I just it was very different to me because for me back in high school I never really had that opportunity. It was kind of like you go to this class, 4 minute break, you go to the next class, 4 minute break, maybe have lunch, and then go to the next class. So with high school you had like that whole 1 to 2 hours of class, and then you had like that whole gap where you can do whatever you want. Where in that case, I know us, we went to the gym at that time, like,
Right.
and then we used to go to class. So it was actually,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I'd
Don't forget
say
about ping pong, you know.
ping pong, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
honestly, it was a lot
That's
better
fun.
than, yeah, it was a lot better than I expected. I'm not gonna lie. It was a lot more, I guess. Um, I wasn't expecting as much fun as I initially um thought of it, because I thought it was kind of like when you hear schools like NYU and stuff like that, you kind of have the idea of they have to study, you're engineering, you always study and stuff like that. But it was actually a lot more chill and laid back. But then again, it's our first year, so can't really make that assumption that concrete yet, right? But I'd say it
Right.
was, yeah, so far it's been going well. But then obviously the whole coronavirus situation hit, and you know everything went online, and
Yeah.
that's where I think I started to um kind of studies kind of took a little bit of a hit because um this wasn't, not that I wasn't grasping as much. It's just that motivation kind of took a hit because,
Right.
yeah, it's very different when you're not told or watched upon by another individual who is actually teaching you. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was, but you have to make the best of what we got, honestly. So it's not bad.
Right. Yeah. This whole COVID situation has put a damper in the experience. Well, thank you guys for being in the video. It's been nice talking about our transition from mech to CS and Comp E. Um, so please like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next video.
Peace.
So
Peace.